This may come as a surprise from you, especially coming from myself, but I want you to stop wasting your precious time worrying about your investments. And I'm about to tell you why. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow finance nerds. This is your host of the Retire with Purpose podcast, joined by Marshall Johnson, as he joins me every Friday for these editions of the podcast where we cover a weekend reading article with you. We like to pull out one of those 4 articles that we cover in our weekend reading email and just go a little bit deeper into it. And I got to say, for the show that we're doing right now, boy, we were torn. We were deeply torn between two articles to dive deeper into you. It really, these two were just really tough for me to decide between, because one was very technical, very deep into an article from advisor perspectives that, I mean, part of the hard part about it was written by one of our favorite retirement researchers, Dr. Wade Pfau, who is my professor of retirement income. And he's bringing a whole new analysis to the table.
Doing great work.
And I knew it would be really difficult for the average person to consume. And this is something that is really deep, and it's a long article. And maybe you don't want to read the whole thing. And I go, boy, I really want to dive into this and just make it more consumable for people.
But if you do subscribe to Weekend Reading and you're interested in Roth conversion strategies and how much to do and how to think about it, a wonderful, wonderful article. I did have to read it twice, maybe 2.5 times to really grasp it, though.
Yeah, and I think we started recording this particular episode 2 or 3 times because we said, well, I want to do that one. I want to do that one. And I said, you know what? We've talked about a lot of technical things lately, and which one did we have more passion around? And I said, I feel like we had more passion around another article here that we're going to cover with you, which you can also find in the show notes. We'll have a link to both articles in the show notes. It's from a Teachable Moment blog, Anthony Asola, titled "Investors Need Some Cosmic Insignificance Therapy."
And I had to read the article when I saw the title. I mean, you talk about a attention grabber there. Investors need some cosmic insignificance therapy. I don't know what it is, but I need to know what cosmic insignificance therapy really is.
Well, I needed to hear this. And I needed a lot of people to hear this, especially right now, during times when we're in volatile times, like we're finding right now. When all the news is bad news, we have to share this stuff with people, because I think it's just so important to just remember what's truly important and valuable in life. The article kicks off with something you're going to find kind of strange. Don't waste precious time worrying about your investments. Don't worry about that stuff. And coming from a financial podcast, 2 advisors,
where
2
everybody's
CFP practitioners that do this for a living, you're going to go, what do you mean don't worry about my investments? Don't waste precious time worrying about our investments. And I got to say, I think that too many advisors spend also too much time imparting the wrong things onto the clients that they're working with.
Well, I mean, think about it. We
used to do it.
Yeah, we used to do it. I mean, the first 8 years that I practiced, CNBC was on in my office day in, day out. And it's like breaking news. What's happening? Oh, you got to tune in. And you're getting a million different opinions, and you're being pulled a million different directions in just the tickers scrolling by, and you're trying to pay attention to it all. And are we up 300? Are we down 300? First thing I had to learn was turn it off. Yeah. You got to turn off the TV.
But then what's that turn into? If all we're doing all the time is thinking about the stock market, what's going on in Washington, what's the latest bill that might get passed, how's this going to impact our clients? Then that's what comes through when you're having those conversations with the families you're working with, is this is what's important. The next stock that we pick tomorrow, or how much we convert to Roth this year, or the market's down 20, the NASDAQ, we need to invest in these things. That's what ends up coming out. And we did that for years, and a few years ago we realized that what's really important to the families we're working with. We used to have CNBC on in the lobby when people walked in the room, and now it's not there anymore, right? We're talking about meaning and purpose. These things are still important, right? Your financial plan is still important, but your financial plan should be sandwiched between 2 bigger elements. That is, it should be driven by purpose, your purpose in life, what brings meaning to your life. And then that financial plan should be alleviating the pressure of what's happening next, so that you no longer have to focus on what's going on in the markets, what's going on in CNBC, what's going on in the stock market. Really focus on meaning, that purpose, which delivers more meaning to your life, which allows you to actually spend time where life's actually happening, which is right now, right here, right now. Far too many people are spending their whole lives wrapped up in this. And we see this with a lot of retirees that have been spending 60 years thinking about saving for retirement. And now it's time to enjoy it. And we got to get off that hedonic treadmill and start focusing on the precious life that we have, because the time we have here is limited. We need to be spending it on things we can actually control.
Yeah, I've met with lots of families over the years that maybe one spouse would just, tune in each and every day, watching the markets each and every day, just consumed by what was going on in the narrative of the day, and their spouses are going, "Geez, I thought retirement was supposed to be our golden years. I thought we were going to relax and go see the kids and travel and go around to state parks and go to baseball games and things like that." And this isn't at all what we had envisioned. And it's that hard conversation where we got to step back, create that framework that allows you the ability to let go.
Yeah, and if the plan is not built around those things, if the plan is just built to maximize your net worth or maximize your income, and it's not built around purpose and meaning, then it doesn't mean that much. It means exactly that. It means what's happening in the market and what's happening in Washington. We have to reframe that, and there's 4,000 reasons why that are shared here in this article.
Yeah, 4,000 weeks. The human beings live about 4,000 weeks, give or take 100. It's just math. Worry is our feeble attempt at controlling an uncontrollable future.
Yeah, and the article takes a little segue off the top, which I
talking
put down
about
and said,
that treadmill.
How relevant is this topic? But there were some really interesting things that came out of it. It discusses how the wealthiest individuals tend to work harder than anybody else. And these tend to be Gen Xers, the mega wealthy. They're working well over 40 hours a week when they could. I mean, a mega wealthy is what? Mega wealthy is 30 million, 50 million and plus in assets. They don't need to work anymore, right? They could just enjoy the money that they have, the time that they have with the people that they love, but they continue to work hours and hours and hours more than anyone else. And there's a lot of different reasons why. And I think in many circumstances, it's justifiable, but that is still discussing that hedonic treadmill in a lot of ways. How sometimes we're just so wrapped up in the money, we forget that, boy, how much does this stuff really matter? Because you only have 4,000 weeks. We'll meet with individuals that have $5, $10 million. They could bury the money in the backyard, pull a little bit out every week or every month, and never run out of money. But they're still concerned with what's happening in the market or what's happening in Washington. And I go, you're going to be okay no matter what. Just go out there and enjoy it. Should I spend money and buy this lake property? Well, yeah, you can. I mean, why not? You saved all this money so you could spend it. Go out and spend it. It's hard sometimes to get over that hump and get out of this realm of it's all about the numbers. It's all about the math.
Productivity. He talks about micromanaging every second to get things done. Joyless urgency dominates our culture. I think he made a neat point here about FOMO dominating our thinking. And he quotes Oliver Berkman here, who rightly states, which isn't the problem anyways, as it turns out, because missing out is what makes our choices meaningful in the first place.
Well, if you dove deeper into a hyperlink that is embedded in the article,
wealthiest.
I thought there were some really interesting things that are going on generationally. Again, how relevant is it to this particular conversation? I don't know, but darn, I found it really interesting. I had to dive in deeper to what was going on there because it shared something that's going on generation, right? The mega wealthy, those that are still working their tail off, worried about the scorecard, they say are largely Gen Xers, right? However, if you look at the younger generation, there was a survey that was done by TD Ameritrade, found that 39% of individuals 13 years old to 22 years old didn't believe they needed to even worry about saving for retirement because they're going to have an inheritance someday. Columbia Law, only 5% of graduates planned or had intentions of ever becoming a partner someday.
Oh, wow.
That just shows you that generation, and the argument that's made is they watch their parents work their lives away and they say, I'm not going to do that. Right. Look at the FIRE movement today. Financial independence, retire early. I'm going to pinch my pennies, save as much as I can, make a bunch of money, and I'm never going to work again. There is a generational dichotomy going on. I'm not sure that we want either one of those extremes.
Either side of those extremes. Well, my grandparents were great generation folks who would tell me stories about, how difficult it was. And I think that they imparted things on their children, and their children imparted things on this generation. But But as the article points out here, the miscalculation of time's relationship to life is the culprit. He goes on to talk about how really insignificant we are, and we have a limited amount of resources, and don't waste those. We miscalculate what 4,000 weeks is, and sometimes we think we got 40,000 weeks to get everything done.
And circling back to investors, there are 4,000 weeks, and many investors spend too much of their time agonizing over unanswerable questions, things that you just can't answer. Why agonize over these things if you can't predict them? There isn't a clear answer. We do not know if the market's going to go up, down, or stay the same the next 6-12 months, right? Why agonize over those things? Build a plan that can succeed regardless of what happens in the stock market over the short term, even the midterm. Build a plan that can provide you the flexibility to adapt regardless of whether taxes go up or taxes go down. Those questions, I think, are very relatable. When will the bear market end? How high will inflation go? Will the Federal Reserve raise interest rates too much? What effect will the midterm elections have in the stock market?
Yeah. Gasoline prices, corporate earnings match expectations. Is Bitcoin still a good investment?
And I think there's two different people that dig into these things. There's somebody like myself.
That's a good point.
That for me, I spend a lot of time in the cryptocurrency realm, and I love digging into those things, even though there isn't a clear answer. But I'm not agonizing over it. I'm not worried about it. I'm not stressed out about it. I find these things interesting. I want to study the market because I find it interesting, and I know that we can help people by better understanding how these things work.
Yes.
But if you're agonizing over it, that's not healthy. That means you have the wrong plan.
The urge for certainty compounds the suffering. Our self-protective nature renders us incapable of distinguishing between true alarms and false alarms. And I see that day in and day out, people just trying to find out or watch another podcast or read another book or speak with another expert who's going to be able to give them the certainty so they don't have to worry about it anymore. And that's the wrong way of thinking.
You know who really speaks well to that is Mike Tyson, as he was quoted here. Mike Tyson stoically said, of all people, what is security? I don't know. When you put money in your bank and get a check every week, you can live for the rest of your life. Is that security? That means you won't catch a disease. You can't get hit by a car. You can't jump off a bridge. I don't know. Is that security? Can money secure you from that? Now that is incredibly relevant, right? That's incredibly relevant. We can have the best financial plan in the world, and still, everything can go wrong. We have to enjoy the time that we have. And one of the ways that's suggested in here is just focus on the day. Be present in the day that you have and try completing a few meaningful tasks daily instead of trying to get a dozen or 24 different ones that may not be nearly as important. And for myself, I like to wake up every morning and say, who can I be a hero to today? Not how many, I need to save 10 different people a day, but who can I be a hero? If I just want to pick one person, who can that be? And I can do that every day because I know I can be a hero to that one person that day. I like to ask our team, what are the 3 things that if you just accomplish those 3 things this week would define success for you?
Absolutely.
Just 3 things. We don't need to get the 50 things done on your to-do list. What are the 3 things that define success for you? And I also like to ask for myself, well, what's that one thing that I could do today that's going to bring a smile to my face at the end of the day? It's usually only 1 or 2 things that are really going to make me feel fulfilled, that are really going to bring a level of meaning and happiness to life. Don't let time slip away from you. Unlike the stock market, your time will never make new highs.